Hello, my name is Ben Sheen. I'll be talking today with Stratfor's Kamran Bokhari about the upcoming Camp David Summit in America. Kamran, what we're expecting to see was a meeting of the major contributors to the Gulf countries, the major Gulf monarchies. And yet, we know there have been some notable omissions from the invitation, which is extended by US President Barack Obama. We know that King Salman of Saudi Arabia has declined to attend, and some of the other Gulf monarchies have sent perhaps lesser members of their countries to attend the Camp David Summit. What can we read into this?
I think, Ben, that it was not surprising to see that King Salman would not attend, and for a number of reasons. One is that he is very old, and he's allowing the deputy crown prince and the crown prince to take the lead on foreign policy and governance in general for the kingdom while he remains as an overseer. So, I mean, from that point of view, it's not surprising. The other thing is that he'd like to see the younger generation take the lead and be recognized around the world as the de facto leadership moving forward, meaning the two Muhammads, his own son Mohammed bin Salman and Mohammed bin Naif, who's the crown prince. And so there's that aspect. But by not going, it also allows the Saudis to send a message to the United States that, look, you guys invited the king and the heads of states, but you know what, we're not coming. And it's a way to remind Washington that all is not well between them, and that Riyadh and its allies are really worried about what the United States is doing with Iran in terms of the nuclear negotiations and the overall rapprochement process.
Bearing that in mind, Kamran, what do you think will be on the agenda?
There's a whole host of things that will have to be discussed, but obviously everything comes under the GCC or the Arab concern for growing U.S. tilt towards Iran, or the U.S. engagement with Iran, and how that impacts security for the Gulf states and the wider Arab world. Within that framework, there's a lot to talk about in terms of how to move forward in Syria, especially now that the Saudis have joined the Turkish-Qatari tag team. And then, of course, there's Yemen, the brewing conflict where the Saudis have engaged, are leading a coalition in the form of a military intervention. There is the future of Iraq and how that country will be solved. The IS or Daesh threat, that's another shared concern. But ultimately, it all falls under the Arab concern for the growing U.S.-Iranian engagement.
And everything takes place really within that context of the thawing of relations between the United States and Iran. So, Kamran, what do you see actually being the major outcomes of the meeting itself?
Well, in order to understand the outcome, Ben, I think what we need to look at is what was the purpose behind this meeting. Obviously, it was called by President Obama after a very long period in which the Arab states, made no secret, expressed very openly and loudly their, anger at the United States for what they deem as overlooking Arab and Gulf security because of the engagement with Iran. And so the President Obama, by inviting all these leaders to Camp David, wanted to let them know that, look, we are dealing with Iran, but that doesn't mean that we're going to overlook or ignore your security concerns. In other words, we're not throwing you under the bus in the process. So that was the intent. Now, with these leaders not showing up, that there's been sort of a change in terms of what the U.S. was expecting. I don't think that that there was this expectation in Washington that at the very last moment you'd have the Saudi king not show up. And I think that sort of unsettles the United States. And therefore, I think that what's going to be the focus of this discussion is how to assure the Arabs that the United States is not abandoning them, and convince them that they should not oppose the nuclear talks and not be overly concerned. Now, it's a tall order, but that is exactly, I think, what the focus will be of this discussion.
Very much so, and clearly with that many influential people from the Middle East and obviously the United States in that location, there will be some kind of movement forward. Kamran, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.